What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today we've got a whole bunch of green Digimon that we need to be taking a little bit of a look at. And by now you know I am quite a fan of green Digimon. So let's start off with a lovely level 3. Let's start off with Pomamon, and I should mention translations here from the lovely folks over at Ensan Gaming and the lovely folks over at DigimonCard.dev. Two of my favourite places for Digimon TCG stuff, as I'm sure by now you lovely ladies and gentlemen know. So Pomamon here, we've got a free cost to play normally, 0 cost to Digivolve, 2000 power, which is all standard for a level 3. And we've got a static skill. When an effect suspends this Digimon, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. Now, it is important to note it must be an effect, so you cannot attack and then you get suspended and then you suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. Obviously, that would be beyond amazing. Yeah, that's clearly too good, right? That's clearly never going to work. It would be lovely, especially for green players, but no. But it's alright. We've got a million different effects that suspend our Digimon. Like, I don't know, that really, really good option card. That hidden potential uncovered. The one where you suspend one of your Digimon to lower your evolution cost, as an example. That suspends your Digimon and is an effect and happens on your turn. Remember, this is only on your turn, not on your opponent's, which means that you can use this to then, suspend your opponent as well. Cannot be the only one that thinks this could end up being good. If you've got green decks that suspend your own Digimon, and that is something the green decks do tend to do a lot, this is a card you really need to bear in mind, because you get to suspend your opponent as well, and that's a good thing. Now, moving up into level 4, we got Parasaurmon here. 5 cost to play normally, 2 cost to Digivolve, 4000 power. Oh, pretty standard, honestly. Slightly on the high side to play, but nothing unusual. And what we've got here is a rather lovely skill, whereby on your turn, when you would play a green Digimon card, you can suspend this Digimon to reduce its play cost by 1, kind of like pseudo Digisorption. Not exactly the same, but not a million miles away. Now, this is when you play a card, not evolve, and you have to suspend Parasaurmon. It can't be anybody else, but then you get to play it for 1 less. There is a scenario here, and it's not going to work all that often, right? But there is a scenario here where you can actually have 4 Parasaurmon in play, and then any green Digimon you play, the cost to play is reduced by 4, which is clearly nuts. Again, it's not going to work very often, but when it does, that's kind of redonk. We've also got an inheritable skill here, whereby on your turn, once per turn, when an effect suspends your Digimon, suspend one of your opponents. So basically it's Pomamon, but as an inheritable skill, which is nice, of course, because Pomamon's a level 3 and it's all well and good, but you've got to keep that level 3 in play in order to use it. You're going to want to evolve out of it, right? You're definitely going to want to evolve out of it. I like this. And I should mention, obviously, there is a rule in Digimon whereby you're only allowed to attack suspended Digimon. So here, and there's no limit, you can suspend whatever Digimon you like. So here, you play an effect that suspends one of your Digimon, and then you suspend one of your opponent's Digimon, and then you can attack them. I mean, this works pretty gosh darn nicely. Now, moving up into level 5s, we got ourselves a couple of new level 5s to chat about, including Tropiumon. 7 cost to play normally, 3 cost to Digivolve, 7000 power. So all pretty standard, honestly, for a level 5. And we've got an evolution skill. If this Digimon is suspended, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. Now, honestly, this is a little bit awkward, because essentially you have to have a suspended level 4, and then Digivolve that into Tropiumon, who will then be suspended, to suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. But again, we've got a whole bunch of things in green that will suspend your own Digimon. I mean, one that I always very much enjoy is Shivamon. While all of your Digimon are suspended, your opponent can't use option cards. That's quite nice. So you want to be trying to get all of your Digimon suspended. Or Bloom Lordmon, the level 6 from BT10. When Digivolving, you can suspend one of your Digimon, and then for each of your suspended Digimon that contains plant, vegetation, or fairy, gain a memory, and if you gain 2 or more memory, you unsuspend and you get piercing. Plus, for every 2 of your suspended Digimon, this Digimon gets 2,000 power and gains security attack +1. So this is the kind of stuff that Green do. Quite a lot. So you know what? Yeah. In a world where Green are constantly trying to suspend themselves to gain advantages, these skills are really working. There's also an inheritable skill on your turn once per turn when your Digimon is suspended by card effects. Suspend one of your opponent's Digimon, which you will notice is exactly the same inheritable skill as we saw on Parasaurmon. Yeah. So basically, if you get Parasaurmon into Tropiumon into a level 6, and you have a skill that suspends one of your Digimon, then all of a sudden, your opponent has 2 suspended Digimon. That's clearly brilliant. Not to mention all the other things we've got with Pomamon and Tropiumon and all of that good stuff. Now, in terms of Antmon, we got 8 costs to play normally, 4 costs to Digivolve, 8,000 power, and we got Digisorption -3. That is to say, when you Digivolve into this, you can suspend one of your Digimon to reduce the cost by 3. And I'm pretty sure this would count as an effect which suspends one of your Digimon. So, yeah. Now, it is a 4 cost to Digivolve, and you're only reducing it by 3, so you've still got to pay 1 memory to Digivolve, which isn't ideal, but it's still a 1 cost to Digivolve level 5. That ain't bad, ladies and gentlemen. And then, of course, in theory, you are then suspending one of your Digimon, which means you're going to activate all of those skills to suspend all of your opponent's Digimon, and that's awesome. Plus, when Digivolving, if you have 2 or more suspended Digimon, unsuspend this Digimon? Yes! Great. Because, you know, when you it's a bit weird, right? Because when you Digivolve into Tropiumon, you want to be suspended so you can suspend one of your opponents. But when you Digivolve into Antmon, you also want to be suspended, or at least it doesn't matter if you are, so that you can then unsuspend. Love it. Love Antmon. Really like this. The fact that you get to unsuspend is clearly a good thing. The fact that you got Digisorption -3 is clearly a good thing. And the combo we've got going on with all the other Digimon we've talked about here, clearly a good thing. But we do need to get ourselves a lovely level 6, and we've got one here. It's Hydramon. Now, Hydramon here is pretty beefy. We've got 13 costs to play normally, 5 costs to Digivolve, 13,000 power. All of which is about as high as we tend to see on level 6s. And when Digivolving, you may suspend 1 Digimon. Now, the translation is from DigimonCard.dev, and they tend to be pretty good at this. It does not say your opponent's Digimon. It does not say your Digimon. In fact, and I am getting better at reading my Japanese here, it literally says yours or your opponent's Digimon, suspend 1. So it is very clearly, you can suspend either one of yours or one of your opponents. No caveats here, no suspend one that doesn't have blocker, no 12,000 power or less or any of that garbage. It is just a straight suspend one of your opponent's Digimon, which is clearly a very, very good thing. Because either you suspend one of your opponents, and then if they're a blocker they can't block, or you can suspend them so you can attack them, etc. Or you suspend one of yours, and that means that you get all of those advantages you get from having suspended Digimon, like I told you a moment ago. Sounds good to me, ladies and gentlemen. Plus, on all turns, once per turn, when an opponent's Digimon is suspended, you gain 1 memory for each other suspended Digimon with plant, or vegetation, or fairy in one of its traits that you have in play. Obviously, the combo here with Lord Bloomon is fairly obvious. So, yeah, this is ridiculous. Now, this is when an opponent's Digimon is suspended, you gain memory for each of your suspended Digimon, but it is on all turns. So, on your turn when you use your skill, or on your opponent's turn, And on your opponent's turn, if they attack once with one Digimon, then their Digimon is going to be suspended, and that means that all of your suspended Digimon are going to give you a memory. If this works, if you can make a deck where you are constantly suspending your own Digimon, and it's green, you can be gaining a redonkulous amount of memory with Hydramon here, while also suspending all of your opponent's Digimon constantly with the others, and this is nuts. Plus, at the end of your turn, once per turn, if you have 2 or more suspended Digimon with Plant, Vegetation, or Fairy in one of their traits, return one of your opponent's suspended Digimon to the bottom of their deck. Yes! At the end of your turn, you get to get any of your opponent's suspended Digimon to the bottom of their deck. Bearing in mind all the skills I've been telling you about in this video, you're suspending any one of your opponent's Digimon. No caveats. Which means that you should, in theory, be able to suspend any of your opponent's Digimon that you want to on your turn. And then at the end of your turn, as long as you've got 2 suspended Digimon with Plant, Vegetation, or Fairy in your traits, and these can be suspended just because they attacked, it doesn't have to be from a skill, you get to put that Digimon to the bottom of your opponent's deck. You should be able to get rid of one of your opponent's Digimon of your choice during your turn, or the end of your turn, and then you should be gaining a bunch of memory on your turn and your opponent's turn. I love Hydramon. I know I play green decks generally, so I'm always a bit more drawn towards green Digimon. I get that. Hydramon seems busted. And I am prone to hyperbole, and I am overly excited because it's a green super rare, I grant you. But the fact that you can return one suspended Digimon to the bottom of your opponent's deck at the end of every one of your turns, and we got all these skills to suspend them, and the fact that during your turn and during your opponent's turn, once per turn but still, your opponent's Digimon gets suspended and you gain a memory for each suspended Digimon with Plant, Vegetation, or Fairy, even if it's only 2 or 3 a turn, that's 2 or 3 during your turn, 2 or 3 during your opponent's turn. It's crazy good. I'm legit in love with this card, but I want to know what you think. So let me know in the comment section, would ya? Go nuts! Be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi. That's where we talk Digimon and a bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCGradio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, and all kinds of fun things. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wasi Plays.